This is WarCry. WarCry For Our Children, where the street meets the sanctuary and purpose meets power. Join me, Elder M, intercessor, street evangelist, prayer warrior, advocate for justice. We stand in the gap in the streets, in the courtyards, in the schoolyards, in the church and on the block. This ain't just prayer. It's intercession. It's advocacy. We deal with real problems. Criminal justice, social justice, gun violence, social media, catfishing, human trafficking, mental illness, education disparities. We deal with it all here on WarCry. Our community has a voice. It's called WarCry. Each week, we link arms with community leaders, educators, pastors, parents, calling out injustice. This is WarCry. This is not just a podcast. It's more than a moment. This is a movement. Join us. Let's give a voice to the problem and be the solution. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep on going. WarCry. We're going to speak out for our children. Let freedom ring? No. There cannot be freedom until there's justice. WarCry, join us Mondays, 11 a.m. I'm just about to lose my mind. This is WarCry. They're trying to turn time back. But let us get out and give a voice to the problem. This is WarCry. Join us, be with us, or be gone. Don't push us. This is WarCry. Trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. We're not going under. This is WarCry. This is WarCry. WarCry For Our Children, where the street meets the sanctuary and purpose meets power. Join me, Elder M, intercessor, street evangelist, prayer warrior, advocate for justice. We stand in the gap in the streets, in the courtyards, in the schoolyards, in the church and on the block. This ain't just prayer. It's intercession. It's advocacy. We deal with real problems. Criminal justice, social justice, gun violence, social media, catfishing, human trafficking, mental illness, education disparities. We deal with it all here on WarCry. Our community has a voice. It's called WarCry. Each week, we link arms with community leaders, educators, pastors, parents, calling out injustice. This is WarCry. This is not just a podcast. It's more than a moment. This is a movement. Join us. Let's give a voice to the problem and be the solution. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep on going. WarCry. We're going to speak out for our children. Let freedom ring? No. There cannot be freedom until there's justice. WarCry, join us Mondays, 11 a.m. I'm just about to lose my mind. This is WarCry. They're trying to turn time back. But let us get out and give a voice to the problem. This is WarCry. Join us, be with us, or be gone. Don't push us. This is WarCry. Trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. We're not going under. This is WarCry.
Welcome, welcome. This is WarCry for Our Children, and we are so glad that you decided to join us. Our community is coming together to make a difference where not just in the community, but in the church and also in the lives of our children. This is WarCry, where the sanctuary goes and meets the street. We're just not staying in the building no more. We're leaving out of the building and we are meeting the streets. Now, I want to just tell you something. We are not politically correct. No, 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 no. But what we are we're Christ centered. So we bring changes. We talk about those things that people don't talk about because they don't want to get to the nitty gritty. They want to talk about all the big highfalutin stuff. But we want to go to the community, to the urban areas, and talk to our families that's there because their voices need to be heard. This is WarCry. And we welcome you. We're going to bring our panel, bring everybody on. I am so happy about today's show. I'm so happy that God moved us in this direction to bring this subject to the light. I'm so glad about the guests that we have and the changes that we're going to make and the lives we're going to change. So before we even do an introduction, I just want to tell you something. It was a story that I ran across this weekend that really, really touched my heart. And I know if it touched my heart, it's going to touch your heart. So let's see the show. Let's bring up the video.
With a mother wanting justice. She says her 5-year-old daughter was beaten, abused, and traumatized. I'm Katie Houston.
And I'm Damon Maloney. We first learned about this after receiving multiple phone calls and emails about a Facebook post detailing the violent attack.
News 5's Nadine Abusada sat down with that mother who wants everyone, Nadine, to know what happened to her daughter.
Katie, Damon, we want to warn those that are watching that what you're about to hear and see may be graphic and disturbing as a mother demands answers and justice for her daughter. Is she a mini you?
Yeah, she literally will crack you up. Like, she's so proper, the way she talks, everything about her is just like bubbly.
When talking about her 5-year-old daughter, and Tavia Kinnebrew lights up.
She is very, very affectionate.
But sadly, that joyful spirit
It was horrible.
is broken.
The bubbly 5-year-old, and I know she was not there no more.
We're not naming the child or showing her face because she is a minor. But this horrific story begins on September 13th. And Tavia says she left her 5-year-old daughter at a family member's house. Then she got a call. Her daughter was missing. When she arrived, the little girl was already in an ambulance.
I could not recognize my daughter. Her hair was ripped out of her head. She had blood and bruises all over her. Her nails was filled in dirt, and she was unresponsive.
Tavia says her daughter was taken to a wooded area where a group of children attacked her. The allegations, which include sexual assault, are too disturbing to share with you.
That is so evil. It's so evil.
News 5 reached out to Cleveland police regarding this incident. What can you tell me about this investigation involving a 5-year-old allegedly being assaulted?
It is an active investigation that the Cleveland Division of Police is conducting at this time.
In a statement, the department confirmed that the Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit is actively investigating a case involving multiple children under the age of 10, both as victims and as suspects.
And we have to protect the rights that the victims have, just as well as the suspects in these cases.
And Tavia says her daughter spent about a week in the hospital. The moment she opened her eyes,
She was screaming. When she woke up, she said, "They killed me." She thought she was dead.
the memories came flooding back.
To hear your baby say that she dead, what? A 5-year-old shouldn't even know that word. Like,
How is she now?
she's struggling mentally and behaviorally. She say things that she never said before, more violent, more suicidal things.
She says now her focus is on just two things: making sure her daughter heals and getting justice. You posted about it. Why? Why did you want to speak out regarding what happened to your daughter?
Because I needed justice for my daughter.
So when you say justice, what does that look like?
Everybody involved in the pain that was inflicted on my daughter, they get what they deserve.
As of now, no charges have been filed in this case, and Cleveland police reiterate that it is still under investigation. For Tavia, she has legal representation, and she plans to keep fighting until she gets justice. Damon, Katie, truly a heartbreaking story.
Okay, let's go back to the panel. These are some of the things that are touching the hearts of our people, touching the hearts of what's going on in our community that we don't always know about. But because this is War Cry, we're going to be about our Father's business and bring it to you. Now, before we even go to the show, I'm going to ask our pastor Wayne if you would come and pray for this family because this touches all our hearts. When you have a 5-year-old that has been molested and raped and all the other crimes that we probably can't think of by other minors, others that are less than 10, we are facing serious issues in our community. So, Pastor Wayne, before we even go to the show, we want to interrupt and we want to pray. Could you pray?
Yes. Father, in the name of Jesus, Lord, we just want to thank you. First, we want to pray for those families that's gone through trauma, going through these different situations. But Lord, help us, help our communities that we may get involved with, that we may help each other in these last these in young men and young women that's doing the wrong. Touch their hearts right now. Let them know that they're doing wrong. Lord, we ask that you just have your way. And not only that, but help the community, help the parents, that we may get involved and help one another. In Jesus' name we pray and we thank him. Amen.
You're muted.
Cannot hear you. Can't hear you. Yeah, almost something's wrong.
You hear me now?
Now, yes.
Yes.
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is War Cry, and we're so happy to have Miss Manhattan with us. Truthfully, I never knew it was a position with Miss Manhattan. Can we give her a hand clap? And she's running her banner on human rights. Okay, Miss Manhattan, come right on, Ashley, and tell us, first of all, tell us how you got to become Miss Manhattan. I want to become Miss Brooklyn, so tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. Yes, I am a part of the Miss America organization, and so I competed for a local competition for the title of Miss Manhattan, and I'm so thankful that I've gotten this opportunity and honored to be Miss Manhattan 2026. And in June, I will be competing for the title of Miss New York, and if I win that, I will go on to Miss America.
Well, we're going to do a declaration right now. You're going to win Miss New York and you're going to win Miss America. Okay?
Woo!
We're doing a declaration right now. We thank you so much for sharing your time with WarCry and coming on and explaining to us. Now, how did you really get into this topic, this subject on human rights? What pushed you there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a survivor of child sexual abuse from the ages of 12 to 14. And I was not able to label my own sexual experiences until I was 22 when I realized that I was a survivor. During this time, I had been assaulted twice and I had dealt with sexual coercion. And it was really frustrating to understand that no matter how much I experienced, I felt like I never knew enough. I felt like I wasn't at a place where I understood what violence looked like when it was happening to me, even as it was actively happening to me. Through that, I decided to get into the work of sexual and gender-based violence, and I started approaching policy in that manner. However, in that introduction, I really got into the weeds of sex trafficking and child sex trafficking, and I began understanding the correlation between child sexual abuse victims and child sex trafficking. And it was terrifying because the one thing that I ended up saying was, oh my goodness, I am so lucky. As a survivor, as someone who went through 2 years of child sexual abuse, how lucky am I that I was only abused and not trafficked? And I think that is an insane sentence to ever say out of your mouth, but an even crazier sentence to be true. And so, yes, I got really deep into the weeds of what has led us to this moment. Why is this a statistic that exists? What do we do about this? How do we help people like me so that I never again have to hear someone say that they were lucky to be abused?
Okay, now we're going to go to our second video. Then we're going to go to your presentation. Let's go to the second video.
Can't hear any volume. No volume.
It's just really it's just words that are coming on the screen. It's
Okay.
it's just having us feel the way things happen. I think they're doing pictures of money, doing pictures of people in the car, things in ways that people can be sex trafficked, or that our kids can be lured into this act of self trafficking. It's just a reflection on what it is and what it involves. Now we're going to go to Ashley's production. Ashley's uh, presentation right now. So let's bring Ashley's presentation on as well. And Ashley, we thank you for all the work that you are doing and that you've been doing in this area. Because, see, I realize that some of this work could be very painful for you because guess what? You experienced some form of this work you're doing in your own personal life. So now we're going to come back. Let's go back to the panel. And let's bring on let's bring on her presentation. And then we will get to the panel. Now, while she's bringing it on now. Go ahead. Ashley, it's in your hands.
Thank you so much, Valerie. I really appreciate it. As I said before, my name is Ashley Staggers. I am a survivor of child sexual abuse from the ages of 12 to 14, of which I was unable to label until I was 20. At 17, I was sexually abused and sexually assaulted, and I was not able to label it for 7 months. When I was 19, I was assaulted again, and I was able to label it after a week. When I was 22, I was sexually coerced and could not label it for 2 months. We can go to the next slide. I'm so sorry.
The next slide.
In America, there is this predominant prevailing rape script where a male stranger violently attacks an unsuspecting female. Because of this rape script and what we have decided rape looks like, it becomes increasingly harder for women to be able to label their situations as rape when it looks anything different to this prevailing script. So for the prevailing rape script, what we're saying is rape has to be perpetuated by a stranger. It has to involve physical force and sustained injuries. It has to be perpetuated while both parties are sober, and it must involve weapons. Anything that divulges from this rape script, being raped by a friend, it not involving too much physical force, it happening while one of the parties isn't sober, it not involving weapons, increases the likelihood that women will not be able to label the sexually violent experiences that they are going through as rape, even when it is rape. We can go to the next slide. As such, over half of female rape survivors do not call the situation that they experienced rape. This is when held up against the narrowest statute of the law of what rape is. They still do not label it as rape. The problem with this is that women feel like real victims will never put themselves in these situations, and we start subscribing to victim blaming culture ourselves. And if we can't even label what rape looks like, how are we meant to label what assault looks like? How are we meant to label what coercion looks like? We can go to the next slide. This is a huge problem. This isn't just happening to one or two females. as 40% of female rape victims are under the age of 18-year-old at the time of their first rape. 1 in every 9 girls and 1 in every 20 boys under the age of 18 will experience sexual abuse, and 82% of all victims under the age of 18 are girls. Unfortunately, child sexual abuse is most prevalent when children are between the ages of 7 and 13, with the median age being 9. And the Department of Justice estimates that 86% of child sexual abuse will go unreported before adulthood, as we cannot label the situations that are happening to us. And 1 in 5 victims of child sexual abuse won't ever disclose the victimization, even after they realize that they were a survivor. These disparities do matter in terms of race, as 60% of Black girls have experienced sexual abuse before the ages of 18, and 63% of these assaults are not reported to the police. Like, scarily enough, 42.1% of victims of sexual violence report that they are unsure whether a crime was even committed or whether harm was intended, and that is why they did not report these incidents to the police. Women believe that they're responsible for the environments that they choose to be in, and they're responsible for making their refusal abundantly clear and protecting themselves. Women have decided that it is up to us to try our hardest to leave, and that is what culture has also told us. Women tend to excuse men for miscommunication and misread signals and say things like, oh, that's just the way men are, believing that a man probably just misunderstood the situation. As such, many times they are not reporting what is happening out, or they're not calling it rape, because we believe that intent subscribes to the harm that is happening on a human body. And because this is so common, this form of rape is so common, where we are unable to label it because it's not being done by a stranger, or it's not being done when both parties are sober, or it's not in the back alley with a creepy guy with a knife. And it's so common, women believe if it's common, it can't be rape, because rape is uncommon. As such, 78% of college women report encountering sexual coercion, even when they had already refused to engage in sex. This refusal that we believe, if we make so abundantly clear, will stop a situation from happening, doesn't, because it keeps being pushed upon us that we need to say yes, that we need to say yes, that we need to say yes. The most common of these tactics include attempting to induce sexual arousal from the woman, even after she's already said no. So touching her, still kissing her, even if she's been like, no, I'd really rather not. Repeated request. Why not? But I'm your boyfriend, but this, but that, just tonight. A threat of harm. If you don't do this, I'll jump off a bridge. I'll kill myself. Voluntary intoxication. So feeding the woman drinks, being like, just have another round. Or being told lies. And that can look like a variety of different things, but I don't want to get too heavy into the weeds. And over half of these women were in sexually active relationships while they were experiencing sexually coercive tactics. So these are tactics that they're engaging in with their boyfriends. Their boyfriends are the ones who are coercing them, or friends who are guys who are telling them, like, listen, just come over for a fun night. We don't have to do anything. And then the woman thinks, I don't have to do anything. They go over, and all of a sudden they want something. A woman says no. They keep wanting it. A woman says no until she feels like she can't say no and she has to say yes. We are unable to label this experience as sexual coercion, and this is kind of an entryway into what sexual violence looks like for us. The inability to say no, the inability to feel like you have the freedom to say no, which can further lead into sexual assaults, sexual abuse, and so forth. The importance of labeling cannot be understated. If you can label a sexually violent situation that you've been through, you experience less distress, better coping skills, you're happier, you experience less self-blame, you are more likely to leave the relationship where the violence happened. You're less likely to be re-victimized in the future because you know what violence looks like when you're experiencing it upon your own body. And unacknowledged survivors will experience greater levels of distress and psychological symptoms, while acknowledged survivors will report to the police more often and actually have access and use their access to mental health resources. The reason I got so heavy into the weeds about our inability to label is that this feeds into how child sexual abuse thrives. As a survivor of child sexual abuse, you realize that there truly is a lack of education as to what this abuse looks like. When I was, and not to get too in the weeds, when I was 12 and I was experiencing this, I couldn't conceptualize what violence looked like against my body. I was very confused as to what was happening. I knew I didn't like it, but I felt like I didn't fight hard enough. I was 12. There should have been no invitation for someone to touch me in the first place. I felt like it was my fault that I let myself fall asleep and not put a guard up. I was 12. That's insane. But because I felt like it was my fault to some level, and many survivors do, and we're not educated that it's not our fault, that it's okay if your body has a biological response to it, even if you don't want it, it doesn't mean you liked it. We will not talk about it, which leads to an inability to label it and communicate what is happening to us. I felt like because I was at fault for this dirty thing that was happening to me, I couldn't tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone. I also didn't know what to call it. What was I going to tell my parents? This leads to two-way isolation from the community and also behavioral shifts. I felt like if I made myself less desirable, people would stop touching me. I stopped showering. I didn't do my hair. I got mean towards as many people as possible because the less they wanted to touch me, the less they would. That's what I felt like. And as I was becoming this angry child, just trying to protect myself, the community was also isolating themselves away from me. Oh, this is such an angry child. We don't want to talk to her. Like, leave her be. And of course, these feelings of responsibility for the trauma that you're experiencing when you when you're going through it and your body is responding in a biological way, feeling like this is my fault. And as a vulnerable intersectionality, LGBTQIA youth are oftentimes experiencing child sexual abuse even more because they have fewer access to resources, less education, and a smaller ability to communicate and label what is happening to them, because the community is already isolating them. The effects of this child sexual abuse lead to so many beautiful and horribly beautiful, I want to say characteristics that become the bread and butter of a trafficker. You dissociate from your body when you're going through those things. You no longer can really fully experience what is happening. You become hypersexual or asexual. I myself became hypersexual as a way to reclaim power by saying, well, if guys are going to do this to me anyways, if someone's going to touch me anyways, whether I want it or not, then I might as well get something out of it. I might as well play them for everything that they have. I might as well use it to my advantage. And if they're going to touch me anyways and do what they want to me anyways, then I might as well make myself something so irresistible that they will give me whatever it is I want in return. And then again, behavioral shifts where you're becoming hypersexual and all of these things. And it leads to two-way isolation where you feel like you can't talk to anybody. You can't trust anybody. Like I said, this becomes the bread and butter of a trafficker. If you have someone who is dissociated from their body enough that they start treating sex like it's a commodity to be put in through a transaction, where they're extremely hypersexual because they have no idea what else to do with what is happening with their bodies except to use it to their advantage to get something from it, you have the perfect person to be trafficked, who will never know that they're being trafficked, who will never call out for help, who will never be able to label it as trafficking because they themselves are already making themselves a commodity. They're already telling everyone, hey, I'm giving it up freely. This is what I want for me. This is what I'm asking to happen to me. As such, 84% of people who experience child sexual abuse at some point in their childhood become a victim of child sex trafficking. Traffickers seek them out. And even more so, this happens at an extremely high amount for foster youth. Foster youth experience these things called status offenses, which are offenses that aren't necessarily crimes when you become 18. So these are things like running away from home. That's a crime when you're under 18, but after 18, when you're 19, you can't really run away from home. That's called going on a vacation. You can't violate a curfew or engage in underage drinking after a certain age. You can't experience truancy after a certain age. Once you hit 18 and you go to college, it's not truancy, it's skipping class and giving yourself a mental health day. But these things are crimes when you're under the age of 18. They're illegal. They can put you in the system for it and start that transition into the juvenile justice system. As such, because foster care youth experience sexual abuse at higher rates, when they're truant from school, or they're running away, or they're trying to get away from the situation that is causing them to be abused, they're oftentimes running away to a different house, or running away to someone who said, this is a safe place for you. I understand you. I hear you. I know what you're going through. And as a result, normally end up getting abused more. Normally, the person that they're running to is the person that is seeking out these people who are so vulnerable, these people who need somewhere to go because they don't want to end up in jail. They don't want to end up as a criminal. And so oftentimes these youth are the one running away. They're trying to run away from trauma, but they're often running to trauma. And as such, foster youth are oftentimes, that intersection between foster youth and child sexual abuse victims are oftentimes the group that are trafficked the most. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reports as such 1 in 6 of more than 25,000 children in 2022 that were reported as missing and runaway were likely victims of child sex trafficking. And this is a quote from an actual child sex trafficking facilitator who was eventually locked up. He said, "I looked for girls who were willing to travel and who were running away from something or someone." Other vulnerable intersectionalities, like I said, survivors of child sexual abuse, LGBTQIA youth, immigrants, those who can't communicate efficiently. Communication is so key into making sure that these things don't happen. Those who are disabled and don't have no means of resources, children in the child welfare system, foster care youth, justice-involved youth, which are oftentimes children in the child welfare system who are running away or truant. Those who are financially struggling and so are hearing a proposition that is helpful for them, and those who are neurodiverse, those who can't understand, this man does not want anything good from me. This sex trade that they end up in, these trafficking situations that they end up in, even if they feel like they're doing it voluntarily, whether it's stripping or prostitution or just straight up trafficking, is not safe at all. 93% of those who are voluntarily in the sex trade report being assaulted. 75% report being raped. 56% report being robbed. 82% report physical assault. And 83% report that they were threatened with weapons. The death rate for these women is higher than the general population and almost twice as high when adjusting for things like age and race. The death rate is even higher for those who are actively involved in the sex trade at the time. So it's already higher. Even if they escape, they'll probably commit suicide, but it's 6 times higher for when you're actively involved in it. The risk of being murdered while engaged in this work is 18 times higher for these people than it is in the normal population, to the point where the average PTSD score among these women is comparable to treatment-seeking war veterans who are also experiencing PTSD. So how do we create change? I've just given so much information, and the question truly is, okay, what do we do about it? And the biggest thing that I would say to people is, it's so interesting when you hear survivors of sexual assault and you go and talk to them and you say, well, what did you think happened? And they come back and they're like, I didn't know I was being assaulted. Or you go back to a survivor of rape or child sexual abuse and you say, well, what do you think happened? Same thing. I didn't know I was being abused. When you go to a survivor of sex trafficking and you ask them, hey, why didn't you reach out for help? What's going on? They will oftentimes say, I didn't know I was being trafficked. And you will look at them and be like, he had his hand up against your throat. He had a gun to your head. He said if you didn't do this, he would kill you. And they're like, I thought he loved me. I thought he was my boyfriend. I thought he cared about me. It is this inability to label that has created this windpipe, this tunnel of women who are unable to figure out if what is happening to them is violence or love. And when you can't label what violence looks like in the smallest ways, and you begin conflating what violence and love look like, you will conflate it in bigger ways. You will keep convincing yourself that it's not violence. He cares about me. He loves me. He's taking care of me in other ways. I'm doing this to myself. As such, what we need to do is cut it off from the root, start it from the root. We need to begin educating people as to what consent looks like, what violence looks like. We need to start educating men. Hey, this is what consent looks like. She doesn't want to have sex with you, and that's okay. We need to start educating women. Hey, this is what assault looks like. This is what rape looks like. It doesn't look the way you think it does. We need to also start educating men. Hey, that girl who's 10 years older than you and is your nanny should not be should not be attracted to you. That's grooming. That's not okay. You shouldn't feel proud that you are engaged in a sexual relationship with someone who is 15 years your senior. That's not okay. We need to begin telling kids, hey, like, speak up. It is okay that your body is reacting this way, but tell an adult, know that this isn't your fault. Know that this isn't your fault, and that we're here to help you. And no adult should be touching you and making you feel uncomfortable. We need to be going to people in just relationships and be like, hey, this is an unhealthy relationship. Do you know what an unhealthy relationship looks like? We need to hold movies and music accountable. There's this TV series out called Bridgerton, where in the first season, Daphne literally rapes her partner, Simon, and we still call it a love story. We don't necessarily classify it as rape. That is insane to me, because then we're giving these love stories to women and being like, this is love, this is okay. And it's not, and it's violence. And we need to create a comprehensive sex education from the moment these kids can name what their vagina is, name what their genitals are. We need to start creating a comprehensive sex education so that these kids, these youth, these girls, these boys can label what is happening to them, so that they never have to experience it again or in a harsher way, or they never have to look up and say, thank God I was only abused, because my inability to label it could have led me to be trafficked.
Very good, very good, oh my God, that was so great. Oh my goodness, that was so great. We wanna just bring our panel into it because we got some discussion. I'm gonna ask our Minister Trevor to come in, introduce yourself, and do you have any questions, or tell us what you think about this presentation? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm a former educator, the principal, assistant principal, superintendent, but I still feel myself as an educator. When you were saying these things to me, it came back to me. I had a couple of my children in the school. I was high school, and I had a young lady that came into my office, and she told me what had happened to her. And the good thing or the bad thing was, she said to me, my mother told me to come and tell you that you would understand, and you would get me some help. And I did. We called a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a social worker. We called everybody in. We got to help. I've had another incident where it happened, and even the chief of police, I had to call the chief of police to come down to the school, because her grandfather was a former detective, and he would meet the police officers at the door and show his badge. So when they would come into my office, they would think, oh, well, she's just saying this. I realized I had to protect this child, and I had to do what I had to do to protect. I think it was 3 of them. They were all in different schools. When you hear things like this, it is very, very disturbing, because in my limited being involved in it, it disturbed me so that I realized, if a child ever comes to me, and when children have come to me, all the social worker, all the psychiatrists, we did everything in our power to remove that child. And we did remove her from the home, and remove that child and get that child in a stable environment. It just took me to another level of understanding of some of the things that our children are going through. It is something that some of us can't even imagine. And I thank you for what you're doing. I thank you for this service, because it's so needed with our young girls to know that these guys do these things and they don't love them.
Thank you, Minister. Let's bring Dr. Payne in. What are your comments? Introduce yourself. Thank you, Minister.
Yeah, my name is Wesley Payne, Pastor Wesley Payne, and the information that you give was very powerful. I thank you for that, because a lot of young kids is going through that right now, and they don't come to us, or we do not know, but we have to start reaching out to them, because sometimes they're crying for help, and we got to get involved. We're a village. We have to get involved. And like when you was giving the statistics and different things, that like blew me away, literally blew me away, because I did not know that. I really didn't know that. And I'm glad that you said that, because now to get involved with more young people and start speaking with them, it's a must. And not only in a church, but we got to get out and start visiting people and start working with people, our young people, because they need us and they're looking for help, but they don't know where to find it. So it's up to us to try to give them help. But again, I thank you for your information.
And the first thing I think we have to realize is that we got to know what we're looking for. We've got to be trained in certain areas to know what we're looking for. Sometimes the church thinks that we're trained in everything, which we are not. And we need to get the right training so we can identify and point to the right places. Okay, Dr. Gorday.
This is more than education. I applaud you on the energy and the nerve and the power to present something like that to us. I had one question before I go on, and that is your research, which is so powerful. Is that mostly men, or can you give me a percentage of what these trafficking abusers are? Are they mostly men? Are they women too? I know that the Maxwell was one of them that was could be involved in this. Can you give me any information on that? Any information on it?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Yeah, absolutely. It is unfortunate, but it is mostly men. I don't want to make this a men blaming segment, because I think that that is misguided. I don't think men are to blame. I think the culture is to blame, because the culture has decided that women are a commodity, that women are meant to be used. And we feed that to our men. We tell our men that, you know, a woman exists for you. A woman exists. We misconflate what a woman is meant to be. And we have told them, it's okay. This is the way a man acts. Like, you can't help the thoughts that you're having about her. You can't help the fact that you want her so badly. You can't control the fact that you know, she was giving you signals. There was nothing you could do about it. And this is the language that we have pushed upon men. We have told them that they have no responsibility in the way that women are treated, and that responsibility is entirely on women. And as such, because women are the commodity, they are the thing that will be sold the most. And because men are the people who have no control over their urges and they're just animals, they can't control the way that they're acting. They are who the commodity is being presented to. They are the buyer, the seller. They're the person who is exchanging the commodity. The item that you're selling, the object that you sell, has no say in what is happening. It is an exchange between buyers. The buyers are the men, the commodity is the women. And I truly blame culture for the fact that we have distilled that knowledge into our young men, and we have told them that they are not the leaders and the masters of their own body and their own urges, and as such, in the process, are harming women.
I don't even think our children actually understand what human trafficking is. I think the definition of that, I don't even think they understand the definition of rape. And especially when we get into date rape, you know, because now you get into date rape, that's a whole different stream. Because guess what? You voluntarily went on the date, and now you're saying something happened on the date. How do you feel about that, Ashley, what I just said?
I find it so interesting that we only don't understand consent when it comes to things like rape and sex. If I voluntarily go to a tattoo shop and I ask for a specific tattoo to be put on my body, and they do that tattoo and then 3 others, I would have a lawsuit. I agreed to a certain thing happening to me up until a certain point. I did not agree to anything further. If I have agreed to go on a date with you, I am not agreeing to anything else that happens throughout that night. So I don't understand why we have a full knowledge of what consent looks like when it's anything but sex. And so my answer to that is, yeah, absolutely. We don't know. We have decided that if you say yes to step 1 and yes to step 2, step 17 is okay. We have decided that if you go over to a man's house, you are allowed to be raped. We have decided that if you wear a certain thing, someone is allowed to touch you. We have decided that if you go somewhere or look a certain way or talk to a certain person, that you have now consented yourself to be in a position where violence is allowed to be perpetrated upon your body. And I think that that is absolute insanity and is something that we need to educate out of our culture, out of our generation, out of our thinking, men and women alike, because women will blame themselves for that situation. Men will blame themselves for that situation, being like, well, I put myself in that situation. And then the person on the other side will be like, I had nothing to do with it. She put herself in that situation. They put themselves in that situation.
And I do want to say, Ashley, this may be hard for the men on the line to grasp, but men do get raped and violated too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the
That's
sad thing is, those statistics are very hard to find, because when men are experiencing rape, when men are raped, they will report it even less than women will, because they're so ashamed that it happened to them. And they're so afraid of the cultural response to a man being raped, especially if it's by an older woman. Men are told, you should feel happy. You should feel lucky. Oh my God, she wanted you. You're just that bad. You just have that much game. No, you're a victim. She's a groomer. That is not okay. And we need to stop uplifting that. We have uncles and grown men telling their nephews, telling their sons, like, oh, son, you're just that bad. Your son is 14. He's not bad. He's a child. Like, let him grow up. And it's craziness.
actually another question I want you to just dwell on. And let's go back to human trafficking. Human trafficking, it just doesn't happen. Our children are actually being lured into situations for various things. It may start with a gift. It may start with the perpetrator actually uplifting the emotions of a person he wants to traffic. Just address that. Speak to that.
Yeah, sorry. I missed the question. What was the question?
How, tell us about the process that our young girls are being trafficked. It just doesn't happen in one
Yes.
day.
Oh,
Sometimes they're
actually,
lured. Go ahead.
it's a lot easier than people think, which is terrifying. All it takes is for someone to feel isolated from the community, for someone else to validate them, and for them to take that person up on an offer. All it would have taken for me to be trafficked is for my parents to have allowed me to have a phone at my age. I was crying out to be heard, and I didn't even know it. But to talk to my family members in that moment felt too big of a deal, because I still felt like I was in the wrong. And it's a lot easier to talk to a stranger when you're going through something. So had someone reached out to me and said, hey, you're so pretty, I want to talk to you, I want to get to know you, tell me what's happening, I would have responded. And it takes a couple days for someone who's that young and their prefrontal cortex being that underdeveloped, who's gone through that much trauma, to feel safe and heard. And all that person has to do in that moment is say, you know what, let's meet up and talk about this more. Let me take you out for coffee. Let's just discuss this a little more. I'll meet you. But don't tell your parents, because they would never let you meet me since you don't really know me. And had I said, yes, there it is. All it takes is for you to feel a little bit alone, for you to talk to someone who makes you feel a little bit validated, because they're not in your circle and they have no idea what's happening in your life, and for you to take them up on one offer for it to happen.
Now, the other question I want to just bring out to the audience is talk about the vulnerability of perpetrators online.
Yeah, the online sphere has made it so much worse. And some of the apps we have are just horrible for this environment. Things like Omegle, where you're allowed to, the whole premise of it is to chit chat with strangers, and they're oftentimes grown adults, is insanity to me.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt you, but give us that name again, because I have
Yeah,
parents listening and I want parents to be aware if they see this app to know what it is. Give us that and explain the app a little bit for me.
yeah, the app is, it's called Omegle, Omegle, I believe is how it's spelled. Hopefully. I am dyslexic. But that is how I believe it is spelled. And you simply go on and you video chat, and you just video chat with strangers. That is the entire premise of the app. That's extremely concerning to me. But it's even in the apps that we don't think are dangerous. For instance, last January, or was it this January? It was last January. Congress pulled in the CEO of Meta, who's in charge of like Instagram and Facebook, the CEO of TikTok, the CEO of Discord, X, and Snapchat, because there's this thing called sextortion that is happening all the time, where people will go online and they'll doctor up AI photos of the child that they're talking to, which puts them in a compromising position, and say, if you don't give me money, I'll post these photos to all your family members. And the children will give them money, and they'll keep pushing them, and the kids will keep giving them more and more money until they eventually kill themselves. And the life cycle of sextortion is normally around like 72 hours. Like, it does not take long for them to take their lives from the moment it starts.
Now
And
hold it right there. Hold it. Let me come
yeah,
in. Sextortion. Do you know that they're actually luring the young people to actually take nude pictures, and then they're exploiting them to send them money?
yes, they
Continue.
will act
Continue.
like they're 14-year-old girls, and they'll be like, I just want to see this. You're so handsome, all this stuff, really feeding into males' insecurities. Sextortion only happens to men. It's really feeding into their insecurities and everything that they want to hear before it all happens. And so it's actually a variety of apps, and traffickers have gotten so good at either making someone feel comfortable on the app to the point where they'll give up information that they can use against them, or putting themselves in a position where they act like they themselves are a child, and as such they have misled the child into what they're engaging them, and they're getting some sort of sexual gratification from it. They're pulling CSAM content, which is child sexual abuse material content, from offline. And it even goes farther into truly like OnlyFans. Oh my goodness. Just the fact that we have decided that this is an empowering journey for people to take to commodify themselves for the sake of other people. And allowing people to get gratification from the fact that people are objectifying themselves. And it's oftentimes people who have gone through trauma. Like, the people who are engaging in these apps, they aren't normally just doing it for funsies. They're doing it because they either need to survive, which is most times they really need to survive, or they have decided that this is the way to reclaim their power, because we weren't given a way to reclaim power in other ways. Or they were victim blamed or pushed aside, or like law enforcement refused to help them because our laws are insane. And so truly, yeah, the online sphere has created an environment where trafficking has become more undetectable and more pervasive.
Now, when we speak about, and you spoke about that some of the reasons you think some of these things can exist at this high rate is because we are not properly educating our young people on sex education in school. What's the earliest ages you really think that we need to do that at?
Yeah, this might be controversial, but give me a moment to explain. Child sexual abuse victims start at the age of 7, most times, if they're lucky, which is unfortunate, because it can be 4, it can be 5, it can be 6. And if your child is calling their private parts a cookie or some other euphemism inside of a court of law, the case will not hold up. It's unfortunate, but if the kid calls it anything other than what that genitalia is meant to be called, that case will not hold up in court, and the perp will not be held accountable. It's absolutely insane. So there is a way to talk about it at every single age limit. Am I saying we should go to 5-year-olds and say, so this is rape? Absolutely not. That's a lot. We should not be doing that. But I am saying that when you go to elementary school age children, you can tell them, hey, I want to talk about something. It is okay to say no to an adult. It might be a new concept for you, but it's okay to say no to an adult. It's okay to say no to anyone if they're making you feel uncomfortable. And you explain to them, first, we always say no kindly, then we say it firmly, then we say it loudly. And I oftentimes go to these kids and I'm like, okay, let's try it out. Johnny, I want to cut your hair and dye it green. And the kid will be like, no, oh my gosh, no. And you're like, but Johnny, I really want to cut your hair and dye it green. I think I'm going to cut your hair and dye it green. And Johnny will laugh again. You say, no, 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 say it firmly. And he'll go, no, I don't want you to cut my hair and dye it green. And you go, Johnny, it's fine. I'm just going to grab the scissors anyways and cut your hair and dye it green. I think you'll really like it. You start reaching for the scissors and Johnny needs to scream no. What you're teaching them in that moment is, you know, when something doesn't feel right. You know when you don't want something to happen to you. And it's okay to say no to anyone, no matter their position of power, if you feel uncomfortable. First, you say it kindly because maybe they don't know that what they're doing is wrong. It could be a kid who's like pushing you and you don't like it. You can say no kindly. Then the second time you say it firmly so they understood you're not joking, you mean it. You mean no. No is no. And then the third time you say it loudly to get the attention of someone else, to get the attention of another adult, to get the attention of somebody else in the vicinity so that they can stop whatever it is that's happening to you. You don't have to tell a kid, I'm going to teach you how to say no to child sexual abuse. You can say, I'm just going to teach you how to say no. And that helps create a barrier, that helps protect them. Then you move on to middle school and you say, guys, I'm going to teach you about healthy relationships. Your boyfriend should not be yelling at you and angry at you because you didn't tell him where you were every single hour and every single minute of the day. That is not a healthy relationship. And teaching them what violence looks like in that context. Then you move on to high school. You know, hey guys, you're probably engaging in some sort of sexual something at this age. So let's talk about what assault looks like. Let's talk about what rape looks like. Then you move into college. This is what rape culture looks like. And this is how it is affecting generations. You don't need to talk about it in a way where you feel like you have to say sex from the moment they start to the moment they lay down and rest on this earth. No, but there is a way to talk about it at every single age that can help protect what these kids are going through, because if you only teach them in high school sex ed, it is too late.
Okay. Now, just another question, and then we're going to let the panel come in. Um, when we speak about foster care or the marginalized community of youth, why do you think they don't report it or our young people are not reporting it? Explain why you think that you don't say this makes me feel bad. I want to tell my mom. I want to tell my foster mother. I want to tell my teacher. I want to tell some authority figure because this needs to stop. Why?
Yeah. For many reasons. The biggest is shame. Shame is such a strong feeling. Um, and it deserves more credit than it's getting because it is powerful. When you experience that violation upon your body, you know you feel violated, and it creates a huge feeling of shame that will stop you from talking at any point in time. It's hard. It's hard to talk about it. Even when I was telling my parents 10 years later what had happened to me, I felt so much shame. And it is just something that we have to teach out of our kids. We have to say, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. And then moving on from shame, it's again that inability to label it. I couldn't tell my parents I was going through something because I didn't know what it was I was going through. I didn't know I was going through something. You know, I just thought I hate when this man comes in at nighttime and makes me feel horrible. I hate it. And I don't know what's happening and I feel awful. There was no words to communicate what was going on. How was I going to reach out for help if I didn't know I was a survivor of sexual abuse? And when I was assaulted at the age of 17, I didn't know I was assaulted. I thought it was my fault. I said, wow, I definitely put myself in that position. And even though I kept shoving him off and saying no, it's my fault I was there in the first place. So there was nothing to report because I didn't know something had happened to me. I didn't realize, despite what my body was telling me, despite the fact that my body was saying, hey, you're not okay, I didn't realize that I had survived something. I simply thought I did that to myself. I'm going to have to move on. So if there's nothing to report, if we don't know what to call it, and if we're experiencing huge bouts of shame, no one's going to speak up about it, especially to the people they care about, because you don't want them to view you in any other light if you feel like it's your fault.
Okay, okay. Come on, panel. I need to bring you in, panel. I think it was someone from the panel I didn't hear from. I think that's you, Jerome Green. Is that you that I didn't hear from?
Yes, yes. Good morning,
Okay,
everybody.
go ahead.
Yes, I just want to thank Ashley. That's an excellent presentation. I think that it's a lot. It's a lot to take in within an hour. I just want to say I run like a major program within New York City that works with formerly incarcerated individuals. We help them with jobs. We help them with real jobs, like they're driving trains, buses, cars. They have children that they're trying to reintegrate with. And that trauma, a lot of them, I've had serious discussions with them, and a lot of them have been in situations which you are speaking of now. And these are men that I'm talking about, not just the women. So I think that it has to be a safe space where men can come out and say, hey, listen, this happened to me. I received some therapy. I'm better for it. Because sometimes, like you say, that stigma is there. And once a man says something like that, other men who are not mature, they're boys, they may look at this at the person differently. So I appreciate you just creating a safe space. And someone was saying that we need to go out into the community. And I put in the chat, I'm saying the first place that we should start is in our own homes with our own families and pay close attention to what's going on. I know I'm the oldest of 5. My younger brother's no longer with me, but I had 3 sisters, and my mother would never, ever let them go anywhere. Nobody was around them outside of me. She didn't let them go around anybody, period. They couldn't go nowhere. They were protected 24/7 around the street. And then when I met my wife, my stepdaughter was 5. She's 36 now. She didn't go around anybody. Now I have 2 grandbabies, one 2 and one 3 weeks, 3 weeks old. They're not going around anybody. There's a bubble. So I think that we have to look at things from that perspective. The first thing we have to do is we can buy them all the stuff in the world, send them off with Jordans and trips and all this stuff, but we have to be the first line of defense for our families. And I think that things have gotten so far out of whack that we think because we got 10 PhDs and we got a big house and we driving this and that. I think that we need to get back to base level in terms of being men and being the first line of defense for your family, protectors.
And I want to come in being first line protectors, but being first line educators too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this
Being first line educators. Let me just go. Ashley said something important. She said, when our kids don't know what their personal parts are actually called, then if something happens, that those cases will be thrown out. Now, as people, I know I didn't teach my kids what their actual body parts was called, because sometimes we don't open up to our kids about certain things like that. We wait until they get a certain age to talk about. And secondly, I want to say that sometimes these perpetrators are within our own families, as Ashley stated. So we've got to just keep our eye open on everything around us. I'm going to bring in Minister Patton, because we're getting ready to close out.
I want to respond to Jerome really quickly.
Okay,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to say, I talk about these things not to create an environment of fear, but rather one of freedom and empowerment. And I do want to clarify, it is impossible to protect your kids from absolutely everything, especially in today's generation where the internet exists and you can be online and seeing absolutely anything. And so I think more importantly than sheltering them from everything, it's more important to educate them on anything, because on one hand, you can live in a state of fear. You can live afraid of men, of the culture. You can live afraid of what could happen to my kid, what's going to happen to me, and all of these things. Or you can know what violence looks like, and you can know whether you're perpetrating it. You can know whether you're experiencing it. You can know how to speak up for yourself. You can know that your family is a safe space to go to. And that's more powerful than anything, because rather than feeling afraid of the world, you'll feel free in the world. You'll feel empowered in the world. And so I talk about these things not to make people scared and not to shut down houses and make people stop talking to their neighbors and stop having a community, because community is the most important things in these moments, but rather to help the community learn how to educate each other, to help the community know how to defend itself, to help the community know how to heal. And so I would definitely want to push back against, don't talk to anyone, don't go anywhere, don't look at anything, but rather let's look at everything and then let's talk about it. Let's talk about whether this is a good example. Let's talk about whether it's a bad example. Let's talk about what's good about it, what's bad about it. Let's talk about it, because you will see it. And there's nothing I can do about that, but I can help you learn how to process that information.
Thank you, Ashley. Minister Patton, you want to come in?
Everything was said beautiful. It's educating. We need to get that education in, learn more, much as we can. Sit back. It's education. We need that education, and thank you for that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Patton.
Yes, I think the key thing is, I mean, just thank you for that presentation. It was just so eye-opening, especially the statistics. But I think that we need to start at the home, start in the church, start in the communities, start in the school. I think it needs to be a push as to letting people know that this exists, not in the home, the community, the school, the church. Everybody needs to stop stepping away from it, acting like it doesn't happen. This is very real, and our children will be impacted by this for the rest of their life if this is not taken care of.
Because the trauma that lasts with these types of situations, if they're not addressed properly, they make angry adults. They make
Yes.
angry people, period. And a lot of the things that we have learned, we've learned at home. We understand that sometimes our kids have been they see abuse at home. They see abuse at home and they have no one to talk to, and that abuse becomes like a, a, a disease eating at them. And when they let it out by abusing others. So we need to educate everyone, the parents, the school, the community, because we want our children to be healed. This is war cry for our children, and this is war cry to make our community better, to heal us. Ashley, I'm going to give you the last word. What would you like to leave to our audience today,
Yeah,
Ashley?
absolutely. I would say hope is more powerful than fear, and healing is more powerful than harm. And it is not our responsibility or or our pain to carry when other people are experiencing hurt, but it is our responsibility to do something about it. This world is not meant for us to do it solely. This world is not meant for us to only focus on ourselves. This world is created so that we together as a village can create an environment, a community, a place where people can lay their hearts down, where people can feel peace, where people can feel like they're being taken care of, because it doesn't matter what your last name is or what your bloodline is. What matters is that family is everywhere. And so truly and wholeheartedly, my hope and my goal is a community of healing, is a community of change, is a culture where we have decided that women are worth more, where we have decided that men are worth more, where we have decided that education is the key to our freedom, where we have decided that more so than what it is we want, we have to look at society as a whole. We have to look at what is necessary for all of us together as a whole. And that means valuing each and every individual and where they come from and what they're going through, and making sure that we are putting up stops and barriers so that each and every child, not just our own, are being put in a position where they are set up for success, where we are not blaming them for the things that they are going through, but we are rather helping them heal and move on and recognize that they are so much more than the violence that they experience.
Now, actually, I think you did that. I think you turned your pain into a message that can help others be healed. And I applaud you for that. And not only have you did that, you went on a national platform, which is Manhattan borough president, borough queen. Then you're going on to be New York State, and then you're going on to be Miss America. And you're going to be able to even get this message across even the greater. So we applaud you for that today. And we thank you for being on War Cry. Now, you know you are a War Cry person. We're going to send you a t-shirt that says, I am praying for our children. Put prayer back into school. You're with us now. Is there anything we can do to help you? What can we do to help you and help you in this mission you're doing?
Mhm.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Right now, my focus has been on changing laws. I'm constantly up in Albany trying to change some laws in New York State. And so I honestly don't have an answer, and I can circle back with more information on how people can
Okay,
help.
circle back. Circle back because, see, if you're trying to change some laws, we want to know what laws you need to change so we can get behind our elected officials and push for you ourselves. This is War Cry. This is the War Cry family. Thank you guys for joining in. Thank you, panel. Remember to pray. Remember the 5-year-old little child that I showed you at the beginning. This is War Cry for our children. Give yourself a hand clap. This is War Cry. We will be back next week. Tune in. War cry.
Right.
This is WarCry. WarCry for Our Children, where the street meets the sanctuary and purpose meets power. Join me, Elder M, intercessor, street evangelist, prayer warrior, advocator for justice. We stand in the gap in the streets, in the courtyards, in the schoolyards, in the church and on the block. This ain't just prayer. It's intercession. It's advocacy. We deal with real problems. Criminal justice, social justice, gun violence, social media, catfishing, human trafficking, mental illness, education disparities. We deal with it all here on WarCry. Our community has a voice. It's called WarCry. Each week, we link arms with community leaders, educators, pastors, parents calling out injustice. This is WarCry. This is not just a podcast. It's more than a moment. This is a movement. Join us. Let's give a voice to the problem and be the solution.
I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going.
WarCry. We're going to speak out for our children. Let freedom ring? No. There cannot be freedom until there's justice. WarCry. Join us. Mondays, 11 a.m. I'm just about to lose my mind. This is WarCry. They're trying to turn time back. But let us get out and give a voice to the problem. This is WarCry. Join us, be with us, or be gone. Don't push us. This is WarCry.
Trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
We're not going under. This is WarCry.